Let's make a strawberry rhubarb galette. Welcome to the Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show, where we make plant-based cooking easy. I'm Jill, and today we're making this delicious strawberry rhubarb galette that is gluten-free and nut-free. So spring is here, so the grocery stores are just loaded with strawberries right now, so what better to make than this simple galette? And a galette is essentially, it's kind of like an open-faced pie, really, but it has less filling. Super quick and easy. We're going to jump into it right now. First thing we're going to do is make a simplified version of date paste. So I've got a cup of dates here. These are medjool dates that I've just sliced and pitted. You could also use galette dates, but just a half a cup. And then I have half a cup of hot water. Really, that's all date paste is. It's just dates and water that have been pulverized. So we're going to stick them in our NutriBullet, and we're going to blend them until all of the dates are pulverized. There's no little chunks left. Okay, there we go. Our date paste is ready. So part of the date paste is going to be used for the crust and part is for the filling. So just keep it nearby. I'm going to grab my crust ingredients and show you how that goes together. Okay, before we start getting our crust together, you want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. So I have 1.5 cups of oat flour, 2 tablespoons of tahini, and if you don't have tahini, you could also use a creamy peanut butter, and make sure when you're looking at your peanut butter or you're eating peanut butter that you only get the peanut butter that is just roasted nuts and maybe a little bit of salt. You really don't want the kind that says no stir, because that usually means that they've added oil to it, and we don't need that in there. 1 teaspoon of nutritional yeast, or I'm sorry, 1 tablespoon of nutritional yeast, 2 tablespoons of flax meal, and then we're going to use 1/3 cup of our date paste. So I'm just going to scoop that out. And the rest of the date paste is going to go in with the strawberries and rhubarb to just lightly sweeten them. There we go. Then we're just going to mix this up, and I have my pastry cutter here just because I like to use that for stuff like this. But you could just use a spoon too. So we're just trying to get it all incorporated together until it comes into a ball, okay? Or you're going to press it into a ball. And then you're going to need 2 pieces of parchment paper and a rolling pin. And if while you're mixing you notice it feels just a little bit dry, which that very well could be because all dates are different, they have a different level of moisture in them, you can always just add just a little bit of water. And by little I mean like a teaspoon at a time, because we don't really want this turning into like an oatmeal type of texture. This is really just to get it all so it sticks together well, just like a pastry crust. Okay, so it's starting to come together here. Now I'm just going to press with my hands just to get it pressed into a ball. And it still feels just a little bit dry to me. Just going to use just a teeny bit more water, maybe just a teaspoon. And then press it into a ball. Because if it's too dry and you go to roll this out, because the edges are folded up over the rhubarb and the strawberry just a little bit, if it's too dry, it's just going to crack and break, which for a galette, that's kind of okay. It's a very rustic looking pie or pastry, but you still want it to stay together. Okay, that's pretty good. All right, so now I'm going to grab 1 piece of parchment on the bottom, and I'm going to put just a little bit of water on my countertop just so it doesn't slide around when I'm rolling it out. That seems to help just a little bit. There we go. And put that down on the top. Press it down just a little bit with your hands. just so that you don't have to do all of that with the rolling pin. And then you put your other piece of parchment paper on the top of that, just because these types of mixtures are a little bit too sticky to roll out with just your rolling pin. It will just glue itself to it. So you're gonna roll this out until it's probably about 1/4 of an inch thick. You don't want it too thin because the juice from the strawberries and the rhubarb can soak into it while it's cooking. But you also don't want it too thick because you need a nice ratio of fruit to crust when you're eating it. And we're trying to roll it out into a circle, but you could do it in an oblong one too. I think just typical galettes are usually round. All right, that's about there. And the good thing about these type of pie crusts too, if you're a little shy on one side, you can just grab some from one side and kind of press it down into the other side. And then you kind of press out your edges just a little bit so they're a little bit nicer looking. And that just takes, you know, just a little bit of time and patience just to sit here and work with it a bit. Okay, now that we have our crust ready, I'm going to grab our rhubarb and strawberries and I'll show you how to put that together. While we're waiting for that, I'd like to share some background on our show. The Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show is crowd-funded, which means these free weekly recipe videos, along with our entire catalog of free printable recipes on our website, plantbasedcookingshow.com, and our Plant-Based Cooking Made Easy cookbook series, are all made possible in part by the generous patronage of our supporting membership community. So if you love our recipes, I invite you to join us on our mission to make plant-based cooking easy, and follow the link in the description to become a supporting member today. There's no denying the plant-based diet is a nutrient powerhouse, but did you know there are a handful of hard-to-get nutrients even well-crafted diets are often lacking? The latest research suggests that complementing your diet with a few specific vitamins, minerals, and omega-3s will help boost your energy and keep you thriving for the long term. That's why my daily health routine includes Complement Essential. Complement Essential contains the 8 critical nutrients lacking from most plant-based diets in dosages optimized specifically for us. As a special discount for our viewers, just use code PLANTBASEDEASY at checkout to save 15% off of your order. Okay, on to this delicious filling. So I've got 2 cups of rhubarb that I've cut really small. You want to get your rhubarb smaller because it's such a tart flavor that if you get too much in one bite, it's really tart. So you want to keep that smaller. The strawberries can be a little bit chunkier, that's okay. And the same there, it's 2 cups of strawberries. And then 2 tablespoons of tapioca starch. And that's going to kind of create a little bit of a sauce along with the date paste, and it's going to thicken while it cooks or while it bakes. So I'm going to put the rest of our date paste in there. And if you like it a little bit sweeter, if you like your desserts a little bit sweeter, you could use a little bit more date paste, or you could just finely chop up some dates and add it to it. But I kind of like just a hint of sweetness, and then I really like to have the tartness of that rhubarb. So you really know what you're eating. So we're just stirring this up together so all of that fruit gets coated with the tapioca starch and the date paste. And this is really just the simple version of this too. If you wanted, you could sprinkle a little cinnamon there if you like, but I kind of like it just basic. And then we'll add something special at the end. All right, so now you've got your crust here. I'm just gonna spread out, kind of pile it up in the middle. You wanna stay clear of the edges, about an inch and a half in, because that's the edges that we're gonna fold up just slightly over the fruit. And you can give it a pretty decent pile of fruit here. I might stop right there just so I don't overflow it. I have just a little bit left here. That would be nice for a little side dish of with your breakfast in the morning. All right, so this part you have to be a little bit delicate because like I said, this crust is a little bit dry because there's not a whole lot of fat in it. If you wanted a more buttery pastry type of crust that's just a little bit heavier, you could use my sweet potato crust from the Chicago deep dish pizza. That would work great with this too. But I wanted to show you a nut-free version. So you're just going to kind of fold up and turn and fold up and turn and fold up. And you can kind of stick it to itself a little bit where it's folding up. We're just creating kind of a wall for the juices so that they'll stay in the galette and it doesn't just ooze out all over onto your cookie tray. And like I said, it's a very rustic type of, sort of like a pie. So you don't have to be super particular with this part. Okay. Yeah, some of them are breaking apart, but that's okay. It will still taste amazing. All right. That's about as done as it's going to get. So our oven is preheated to 350 degrees, and we're going to stick it in there for about 30 minutes. Okay guys, it is out of the oven. If you want to come take a closer look, it smells amazing, but I'm going to let this cool for a bit, and then I'm going to spin up my butter pecan ice cream because that will go perfect with this. And then I'll meet you at the table for a taste. Okay, let's dig in. Got my galette here, and I've got my butter pecan ice cream all ready to go. Just put a little sliver here. Just put a little scoop of ice cream on top. Just a little scoop. Okay, here we go. Ready for the taste. Get a little ice cream, a little galette. Perfect together. Sweet and tart. Come on back next week for another great recipe.